On to old business, school improvement plans. Are we going to go in the order in which they are presented?
Well, that's what we promised them, unless,
Okay, well-
unless Nancy changed the order. That's just like before. I made one promise, and so we know. Okay, very good.
Well, we know where they're at, too.
Just a brief introduction to reiterate what we did at our last meeting before the secondary schools presented a reconnection to the goals themselves. You're going to see tonight a reference, mostly in a placemat form, but all the school improvement plans will spin off of these 5 comprehensive school improvement goals that govern the district. And then each of these have strategies and tactics within each one of those. We've reviewed those as part of an ongoing process that led up to our facility plan. These were just taking those 5 goals. I won't read those to you. You can keep going, Nancy. And okay. So this makes up our school improvement plan itself. So you will hear reference to these items tonight in each of the school improvement planning processes. So as the schedule shows, we'll begin with Wyman and end with the middle school. As you recall, in October we did the junior high school RTI, RTC, and at the end, the next item follows on the agenda is the approval of the expenditures for the professional development plans, which allow all these school improvement plans to be funded and move forward. The overall budget's already been approved, but this is the actual action that allows those things to occur. So these processes are collaboratively developed. As you'll hear tonight, you've got many people representing each of the schools, from students to members of parent advisory committees and PTOs. So a lot of work goes into making this district move, and you're going to hear a lot of the good stuff that goes on in each building tonight. So we'll begin with Wyman.
All right, good evening. Good to see you again. I'd like to introduce the 2 teachers who are presenting with me tonight. Pleasure to have them with me. First, I have Ms. Dionne Haskell, who's a first grade teacher for us. And we also have Ms. Shauna Cochran, who teaches kindergarten for us. As Dr. Zales said, our school improvement plan is based upon our school-wide, district-wide improvement plan. Any problems, Nancy? This is a school improvement plan for last school year, and those things are highlighted, and we've given you a sheet. It's the colored side that has yellow and green on it. This is a review of our progress over last year's school improvement plan. The things in green are the things that we accomplished or may be ongoing. The things that are yellow are partially met or, again, ongoing, and the things that are not highlighted are things that we didn't quite meet this past school year. So happy to see a lot of green up there, and we did a good job of meeting a lot of the goals we set forth, such as cooperating with the middle school and providing a transition opportunity for parents, and the anxiety that came along with that transition from moving 4th grade to the middle school, and that was a good partnership with the middle school, and they did a great job of helping us with that transition. The thing we didn't quite accomplish under Goal 1 was we didn't have our 3rd grade Missouri assessment meeting for our parents. That you'll see that on this year's goal as a carryover because we did not accomplish that. Moving away from the weekly activity updates, and we're doing something different this year on our new plan, but we do newsletters, so you will not see newsletters on this upcoming plan because that's something that we've incorporated into the everyday, every week process of being at Wyman Elementary. We did accomplish ongoing professional development for conscious discipline and STEM. Our conscious discipline efforts is a way for us to try to elicit, it's another layer for positive behavior interventions and supports. It's trying to address the social emotional needs of the child and really train teachers to think a different way about discipline itself. discipline, behavior is a form of communication from children, of something that they need. They're missing something. So in that training, we're trying to help identify those needs and meet those so that we can address them and then get them into a place where they can learn. We also worked well with our STEM education effort, the science, technology, engineering, and math effort, as we're trying to build in more project-based learning within the classroom. Like anything, there's always a balance in those things. You hate to swing too far one way or too far to the other, but we are training teachers to be able to do that more efficiently within the classroom. The yellow braiding conscious discipline within our positive behavior support structures is yellow because it's going to be an ongoing process. This is a 3-year process at minimum. That's the plan. So this is basically year 1 for the entire building. Last year I had a group of teachers that were with me and we did a book study over conscious discipline. We went through it together, we read through it, and then they started to implement some of those things within their classroom. Well, now some of those teachers have branched off and they're running their own book study groups, and we have more teachers involved in book studies to learn about conscious discipline and the techniques and the thought processes behind them. So that's a good thing, and that's growing. So that's why that's in yellow, and you'll see that on this year's school improvement plan. The other things, we did increase technology. We did a good job with that. We have Chromebooks in all our third grade classrooms. Most of our second grade classrooms have Chromebook carts. We have one iPad cart in second grade, but every classroom has a technology cart. The first grade has 3 technology carts, and kindergarten has 1 technology cart. So we're going to continue to increase those carts as best we can through budgeting over the next year. Moving on to student performance, we did a good job. We came up a little short in a couple things. We wanted 70% of our children to be at or above grade level for reading. We ended up at 67%. So close. So that'll be on our goal for this year. But 67% was a high water mark for the last 5 years. So trending in the right direction. So that's a good thing. Our third graders did really well on our Missouri assessment test. We're real close to making both the goals that we had in mind. Where we came up a little bit short is we had shot for having less than 10 kids in below basic. We actually had 11 kids in below basic in English language arts, and math we actually made that goal. So we're moving forward with that as well. And then the 4th grade goal, how it was written last year, we had no idea that we would hear from DESE this year and know that the data from last year would not correspond with the data from this year. So it was invalid, essentially. So as soon as that happened, it made that goal irrelevant, unfortunately. And of course, for the governance side of it, I led book study groups and increased my observations of my teachers, and still working on learning more about those Missouri learning standards, especially when there's over 100 learning standards in English. So that's an ongoing process. So the development of this year's goal was really a combination of 3 things. One was examining our progress on last year's goals and seeing where we were at and what we accomplished. We also sent out a parent survey to the 500 parents within the building, and got back some feedback from 20 parents about our progress in the various areas that we're looking to improve upon. And then finally, we use my evaluation that the staff does in the spring. We carry that over. What did we do well last year? What did I not do well? What needs to happen to make this building better? And all those things came together to formulate the plan that you see in front of you that doesn't have anything in terms of highlighted yet, because we're working on it. So we'll just move right into it. So under parent involvement, last year we did a good job of meeting the goal of having early childhood meetings and educating our parents about the process of teaching kiddos how to read and that process of letter recognition and those types of things. We actually have an early childhood meeting tonight that's going on as we speak. So you don't see that up there on this year's goal because that's what we're doing, and it's going to continue. So it's not something that we need to improve. It's becoming a fabric of what we're doing at Wyman. But what we will be doing is, like I said, we will be doing the third grade Missouri assessment parent meetings. Okay, that's going to happen this year. And then we're going to start looking to build a plan for having conscious discipline parent meetings. Because the things that we're going to do with conscious discipline carries over into the home. And it really helps if there's a common language or understanding between home and school to help make kiddos successful. So again, it's at least a 3-year process. So we're training staff now, and things with the staff are changing. Next, we have to become a little bit more experts on it and develop a plan on how we're going to address that with our parents. Also, we foregone the weekly activities updates, and I bit the bullet, and actually, because my teachers came up to me and said, how about a Facebook page? This is how people communicate nowadays, Dr. Ray. I know you hate Facebook and everything social media, which is true, but I put my bias aside and went ahead and, with the approval of Dr. Zaus, we created a Facebook page to kind of keep people up to date with what's going on in the building with pictures and various things, because, again, that's how people communicate, how they keep up to speed. So it's time to get up with the times and do that for people. So we've done that. That's in place. Now it's a matter of keeping it up to date and keeping people informed. Also, one of the things we got back from our parent feedback was they love the messaging. We have something within our classrooms called Classroom Dojo, where it kind of measures behavior. I'm sure you've heard of this before in other buildings as well. But with that piece is a messaging piece where the teachers can text parents directly through that program. And they love that. They love that instant update, that instant communication about what's going on with their kid if things aren't going well. So we're looking at not just Classroom Dojo, but other messaging options for our teachers that may work for our parents. Training our staff is of the utmost importance to make sure that our kiddos are successful. Again, we're working on conscious discipline training, the faculty book study groups. There's 5 of them right now at this point in time. Most of them have 10 to 12 in them. When I sent out the survey to see who wanted to be on whose committee or whose group, nobody wanted to be on my group. Nobody wanted to talk to Dr. Ray about it. But we ended up with 8. I got 8 of them on there with me. But it's been good. It's been good fellowship for the teachers. It's helping them get out of their own grade levels and intermingle with other grade levels and talk about the challenges of the classroom from a behavior standpoint and how we can grow. And we're also looking forward to continue our partnership with RPDC. Actually got a meeting with them in February to talk about STEM education with our 3rd grade parents to see where our next steps lie with that. And I'll just go ahead and talk about this as well because it ties in with conscious discipline. Again, it's a 3-year process to braid in the principles. We're not replacing what we've done over the past 13 years. Positive behavior supports and interventions are successful. They work. There's no reason to throw that out. It's just another layer of trying to help kids. And there's a lot of commonalities between conscious discipline and PBS. But it's going to take some time to implement those things and get them braided so that everybody's on the same page. We use something called progress monitoring with universal data. What it measures, it's a survey that goes out to the teachers, and they rate kiddos based upon their internal and external behaviors. So just to give you a little glimpse of the data, over the past few years compared to this year's data in terms of internal and external behaviors are lower than they have been in years past. I think that can be attributed to what we're doing with conscious discipline and the things that we're doing with with kiddos and those interventions that we're putting in place to help lower those external and internal behaviors. Because we're creating safe environments in each classroom. Each classroom's a family. We're teaching kids how to handle their emotions on a daily basis. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Cochran.
So under instructional resources, we do have some technology resources that are going to be added to our school. With the loss of the fourth grade students, we were able to have now technology carts in every 2nd grade classroom, one of which is an iPad cart, the rest are Chromebooks. The the second grade classrooms. Every third grade classroom has one. 5 classrooms are in first grade, and they have 3 to share. Kindergarten and pre-K, we have 1 to share for our grade level. So what's going to happen is a trickle-down effect. The iPad cart in second grade is going to kind of move down to either kindergarten or pre-K, and then they're going to be given another Chromebook cart. Chromebooks kind of seem the way that the older kids are learning and using those more than the iPads. So giving those iPad carts to the younger students would benefit them. And then with the either pre-K or kindergarten, whoever does not get their iPad cart is then going to receive a new iPad cart. Our outdoor facility, we are very, very thankful. The United Methodist Church had some volunteers come down, and they cleaned up our outdoor learning area for our kiddos. And however, even though it's been cleaned up and we are using it currently, it still hasn't reached its fullest potential. So what we need to know now is what that full potential is and what it looks like, what it can be used for. So with the help of teachers and community patrons, and even from the help of some of our students probably, just to see maybe making a design plan and put into place what that space could be for us in the future and what they could be used for. And our preschool equipment, as of now, it's roughly, we've kind of dated it about 15 to 20 years old. So as of now, there are no replacement parts available for this equipment. So right now we are looking for somehow to replace this equipment, also making it more ADA acceptable for our students that have physical limitations. There are some areas of this right now that are adapted for that, but it could always be better. So making sure that our early childhood special needs students have access and safely get to participate in that time. And now I'm turning over to Mrs. Haskell.
Good evening. I am here to talk about our student performance at Wyman. As Dr. Ray stated earlier, one of our goals is for our students to be performing at 70%. All the kids will read at 70% at their grade level or above by May of 2018. And we will monitor that by using the STAR assessment. That's how we guide our reading and give kids reading levels that are appropriate for them so they can excel and attain their adequate reading growth. Thank you. Our next slide is on student performance, our third grade MAP goal. Our goal is for 75% of our third grade students to perform in the proficient and advanced categories on the state MAP test. And we hope that fewer than 10 students will be in the below basic category. So we came up just a little bit short last year, like Dr. Ray stated earlier, but so we're going to keep our goal the same. And this here is our Superstar board. This is in our main hallway at Wyman. Student performance is based a lot on attendance. If students aren't here, they can't learn and they can't excel. So this is what we do if all students or all classes who have 95% attendance or higher for the month get their names up there with their teachers up on the board. And then individually by grade level, there's one class per grade level who has the highest, then they also get prizes for each of the kids in the class. And they get an award that hangs out in the hallway so everyone can see how well they did for that month. And in addition to that, Dr. Ray also goes and gives awards to all the students who have perfect attendance for the quarter. So the kids absolutely love it, take pictures, and are really, really excited about the perfect attendance.
And I'll just say that the Department of Secondary and Elementary Education, their standard is 90% of the students will attend 90% of the time. So the past couple of years, we've been right at 92%. Last year, we were at 92.1. This year, we were at 92.6. So we're still shooting for that 93% goal and still working towards that through our, some of the incentives and celebrations that we're trying to do. The governance part really falls upon me. I feel like I'm going to continue to increase my knowledge of conscious discipline principles as I try to lead a building to implementing those within the classroom. That'll be part of my evaluation process and feedback process as I go through my walkthroughs, to let them know how well they're doing within the respective goals of implementing conscious discipline. And then also this year, I'm going to be looking at not just the Missouri Learning Standards, but the Missouri Early Learning Standards, because we do have a pre-K in my classroom. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in just a second. So I've got to be able to know both to guide the instruction within the building. So in case you're wondering, and that's the end of the SIP presentation, just to fill in, preschool is going very well. We've got 121 students at this point in time, morning and afternoon total. The evolution of those kiddos has been quite remarkable over the past few months. When we first started off the first day of school, they were like deers in headlights. Didn't know what quite to expect. We had just ample amount of help trying to get those kiddos where they needed to go, get them in the right lines and showing them how to walk in the hallways. Now if you come in the morning and see what's going on, these kiddos aren't being escorted up, because it was an evolution. Teachers would bring them upstairs and they would go and eat in the cafeteria. Then we would enlist our third graders to help take them up, to kind of build that relationship between the oldest grade level and the youngest grade level, and give our third graders some responsibility and help guiding those kiddos. And now, in early November, middle of November, they're walking up by themselves, walking down the hall like they've owned the place the whole time, giving me high fives on the way to the cafeteria, making their way there. They're starting to punch in their numbers. Each of them have an ID number, just like the regular ed kiddos, school-age kiddos. Some of them are starting to punch it in, grab their tray, and go to where they need to go. The staff in the beginning thought that there was going to be a whole lot of crying, with babies in the building. They're probably the most behaved kiddos in the building. They're people pleasers. They want to be short, straight, and silent when they're in the hallways.
They thought the kids were going to cry.
Well, they thought that everybody was going to cry a little bit, but it's been great. They've been very impressed with them, and they love having them in the building. Like I said, they're people pleasers, and they're doing really, really well. The only time that we've really seen them cry is when they had to leave. So if anything's a testament of what we're trying to do with these kiddos within the building, I think that pretty well says it all. That they don't want to leave. They'd just rather stay with us than go somewhere else. So that's a good thing. So, any questions?
So Corey, I'm curious about the 70% reading at grade level. I like that as a measure. I think that's neat that you're doing that. When you look at it by grade, are they each grade that you have, are they all around 67%, or do you find it higher at third grade versus first grade, that type of thing, or have you looked at it?
I absolutely do. It's tracked on a Google spreadsheet for me. It's broke down.
I figured you were the numbers guy.
It's broke down by grade level and by the time that they do the STAR test. The funny thing is, with the STAR test, it fluctuates from time to time for whatever reason, because it's a 35-question test, if not more. And it's hard for kiddos to get through it sometimes, and sometimes they just try to fly through it and get it over with. Sometimes they really work their the tails off and do a really good job with it. For the most part, last year, most of the grade levels were right at 70-75%, so they're doing really well. And then right at the very end, our fourth graders hit like 53. That last test, 53%, and it just jerked that percentage down. For whatever reason. So we're going to see if that happens again, and then maybe we can address that to see if it's a trend, because I hate to make knee-jerk reactions off 1 year's set of data. I'd like to see something going on for some time before we really start making, but it's nice to be aware of it, and for teachers to be aware of it.
Change your date to March or April.
Right? Yeah, it's there right there at the end of May. Absolutely.
Maybe they're ready to be done by
I think so.
But generally, it's pretty consistent between grades.
It's an interesting process for first grade, because when they start off, it's like 25%. And they don't test everybody. They'll test 19 kids because they're not ready to take the STAR test. Yeah. They're not reading yet.
That's what I wanted.
And then in October, we'll have like 40 kids on. That's what we had this year, and we're right at 40% for first grade, But after Christmas, around March, they really start making a jump. you know. And last year, our first grade class was actually our highest class within the building. They were like 75, 76%. They did really, really well. So third grades are usually always pretty consistent. They're right around 70, 75. Big picture, I'd like that to get higher. Once we make that 70 on a regular basis, I'd like to bump that up, you know, because as we've examined data over the course of my time at Wyman, there's a strong correlation, and you've heard me say this before, a strong correlation between the child's reading level and the performance on the Missouri Assessment Program test. So the higher the kids read, regardless if it's English or math, the better they're going to do on it. So and that's really the focus. That's trying to get kids to read and read at a high level.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
I'll concur with Jamie's comments about having some concrete examples for data and using that to your benefit, so.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We expect it from you, Corey. Those number guys.
That's right. All right, thank you for your
Thank you
time.
all.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.